Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, definitely come check us out. We definitely love to have you. So today I want to introduce you to one of the members of the community. I'm Drew Donaldson. Welcome, Drew.
Hi, Extus. How's it going?
Going pretty good. I'm pretty good. So tell us, what do you do?
So I'm a growth strategist. I started my own company, Grow House. We've been in business for about 10 years or so. I started in the media industry as a consultant. Actually, what we were just talking about before we started this Extus process. So I helped businesses and studios establish content processes. And I took that experience and brought into the kind of corporate world and worked as a consultant for a number of universities and corporations to help them build content kind of factories, if you will, ways to hit their own benchmarks that they set for themselves, but also the benchmarks that were expected for their clients. Because a lot of the content I would help with would be stuff that would be sold with advertising and those kind of things. So that's kind of how I got started. And then the one thing that was remarkable about content is its power to grow businesses. It's probably the secret sauce of any secret sauce of being able to put your expertise out there and to be able to entertain and engage and invoke emotion. So I quickly kind of figured out like, well, this is how you can grow a brand. You can grow a brand solely off of this kind of content. And so I shifted my practice to really look more at growth strategy and how you can implement not only storytelling, but content marketing and most importantly, customer experience to tie it all together. So that's pretty much what I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, awesome, man. Love it, love it. So with content, right? Because I know content is one of those things where if you listen to a lot of the quote unquote big gurus out there, some of them they're saying, well, you shouldn't do content. You should just be selling. So what's your difference? What's your how do you see the difference between content and selling? Is it something that's intertwined? Is it separate? How do you see it?
Yeah, so I think there's this great study that came out, and I'll have to get you the link for it. But essentially, what it looked at is that 84 or 83 or 84% of the people that make a sales decision have already made the decision before they talk to a salesperson, right? And they make that decision by engaging with 3 to 4 pieces of content prior to that conversation. And so content is like, it's not a separate thing from sales, it's passive sales. It's building in not only an emotional connection, but trust. It's building a positioning in your client's mind of who you are, what you do, and why they should pick you over someone else. And, I'm a big value guy, so I always believe that you need to provide value first and often, and you need to continue that value beyond the sale. I mean, as a coach that if you just, take their money and disappear, you're not going to have a coaching business for very long, right? You have to deliver on those promises and you have to deliver on that value that you promise. So that content that you're putting out initially is helping build that trust that, not only are you an expertise, or not only are you an expert in this field and you have that expertise, but you're also able to deliver value without them spending $1 with you. So that's the way I position content with my clients.
Yeah, that is so powerful. So when it comes to now, how do you I guess the question becomes, how do you figure out how much content you should be putting out?
So this is a really personal issue, I think, with any company or any individual entrepreneur, because content is difficult. It's difficult to sit down and write a blog article. It's difficult to go and shoot a video and produce it and have it edited and polished nicely and all that stuff. People like Gary Vaynerchuk, his mind's in the right place, but the idea that every person in the world is able to put out 60 pieces of content a day is insane. It's just not possible. Some of us have actual work to do, right? Like for me to put out 60 blog articles a day, I'd be writing all day long. So the idea of, what's the right amount of content, it's what can you handle? Right? What are you actually capable of doing? And more importantly, being consistent with it. Like there's nothing worse than being inconsistent with content. As with launching a podcast, the number one thing that is going to determine your success is being consistent, having a new episode every week when you promise your audience a new episode. If you're just kind of, well, I'm going to do a blog article there and then 6 months later do another blog article and then maybe I'll do a video here, that doesn't build a sense of continuity with your audience where they can see like, oh, well, he's kind of here. And then he kind of disappeared for a while. And what's he doing? And so that's how I look at it. I don't say you need 4 blog articles a month and 2 videos and 3 webinars. Like I don't look at it that way. I say, what can you handle? Right. And then what also is your audience actually going to engage in? If your audience doesn't read blogs, but they attend to every webinar out there, shouldn't be wasting your time writing blog articles. You should be putting together webinars. Right.
Mhm.
So that's the kind of way I balance it for clients.
Yeah, love it, love it. What about mistakes? Are there any mistakes you see individuals who maybe say they do want to get into content creation that they make?
The number one mistake that is common is not creating content from the consumer's perspective, right? When you're too close to something, you can get blind to what the actual issues are in the marketplace, what the challenges your customer is actually facing. And unless you're regularly kind of checking yourself and figuring out like, these are what the challenges are that exist in the market. This is what my customer is really interested in. You'll be spinning your tires for a long time. So like anytime I develop a piece of content, I'm constantly talking to people, whether that be clients of mine, people in the industry, people that I know have had challenges in certain areas, and really learning about what those challenges are and how I can best address them. And, you know, for my case, it's going to be completely different than a guy that pours concrete for a living. But it's still the same process of going and actually talking to people and doing the research. And there's great tools out there now. You know, one of my favorite tools right now is Answer the Public. Have you looked into that
Oh
at
no,
all?
no, this is my first time actually hearing about it.
You got to check it out. It is the greatest. So it's I guess it's a kind of a data mining application. It's free. They have a premium option, but you go in and you can type in whatever, you know, say you're a florist, right? You type in florist and it'll show you all the questions people are asking from all around the internet and rank them. And like, these are the top questions about florists, right?
Nice.
And so it's like a content blueprint. It's built for you. It's ready. It's free. And like, that's not the only thing you're going to do, obviously, but it's a starting place, right? If you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to write. I don't know what I should do a webinar on or whatnot. Like start there, figure out what people are asking, and then use that as a kind of jumping off point to start those conversations with people.
Mm-hmm. Love it, love it. So what does your services look like? How do you help your clients? Is it like a done for you? How do you doing?
So it's primarily done for you. I'm actually getting more into the coaching area, I guess you would say. For a long time, I would work with 1 or 2 high ticket clients at a time. And they would occupy all my time. I would be on a contract for 3 to 5 years. I would fix their systems. And then at a time that, you know, where everything kind of stabled out, I'd look on for my next adventure. But the problem with that is that you are cyclical, right? So you're every 3 to 5 years, you're always looking like, all right, what's the next big contract? And in the same way you'd want to diversify a portfolio and investment, I want to diversify my portfolio of clients. And one area that I've been really passionate about helping and have not been able to make the pieces line up is the small to medium-sized business community. Both my parents were small business owners, and my whole family is full of small business owners. So I'm really engaged with that community, but you know, I'd have to work for 100 small businesses every month in order to make the same amount that I can make with one of my higher ticket clients. And then this idea of coaching and course development and that kind of thing kind of came up, and I realized, you know, this is really something this is a way I can engage that community in a way that is going to relieve the stress of me having to individually work with hundreds of people. If I can work with them in groups of 10 at a time or 5 at a time, not only will they get the benefit of learning from each other, which is a huge part of growing a business, is learning what works for other people, but it also just makes it a lot more efficient for me to run a business.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. And that model is so powerful as well, too. I love, as you said, it's really, because I believe most business failure comes from not that the entrepreneur, the person isn't hardworking. It's just that they don't have enough perspective. They can't see how other people are doing
Too close to it.
what's stood. Yeah. So that's so
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah. So in essence, I guess what skill would you say? What's one skill you say you've mastered that's gotten you to your level of success today?
You know what? I try not to say I'm a master of anything, because I believe that there is always room for growth, right? You know, the day I claim I'm a master of something, someone's going to come out with something brand new that I'm going to have to learn, and I'm no longer the master, right? But I think the most impactful thing most impactful skill I've learned and developed is actually speaking in public. And it's not something I ever set out to do. I remember the first speech I ever gave was at my graduation in high school. It was mandated by our school that we each had to give these little like 5-minute speeches. And I was like terrified the whole time writing it, and I hated doing it. And I gave it, and I got a polite applause, as you would, an 18-year-old giving a graduation speech. But I just realized how easy it was. Like, I was like, I'm stressing about this forever. And it's not that bad. This is actually easy. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then over the years, talking to people, presenting in front of clients, it just kind of naturally develops in you. But if I could look back and tell myself at 18, like, stop what you're doing and focus on this, I would say, oh, go join Toastmasters. Like, just go real hard in the paint with getting up to speed on being a public speaker, because it's such a huge thing for our industry, being able to talk to people and have that confidence that you bring. I'm sure everybody has seen a presentation where the person is like staring at the presentation screen, reading their slide decks and like shaking. And like, you feel bad for them, right? Because they're clearly uncomfortable and they're trying their best. But having that confidence and having that ability to just kind of speak off the top of your mind is huge.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. So yeah, that's definitely true as well too. And it's with that type of realm, it's number one, knowing what to do, having the right knowledge, right? Having known what to do. But the second thing I believe that most people kind of miss out on is the practice. Because most individuals, they might say, well, here's something I want to do. And then they try it one time and it kind of doesn't go the way they expect. And they say, well, and they shy away from it, right? Versus realizing that, no. The goal is to fail as fast as possible, as quickly as possible, so that you can become the better speaker, so that you can get the results that you want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to be good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there's, and I was just talking to my cousin, who is an aspiring entrepreneur. She's very young, but very bright and really motivated. And she was talking about all the things she's interested in. And I was like, what you have to understand is that your interests and your expertise aren't the same thing, right? I could be interested in astronomy, but I have no degree in astronomy. I don't know what I'm talking about. No one's going to hire me as an astronomist, right? So the idea that you can have interests that are separate from your expertise, and you can be just as passionate about those in different ways. And you could write a blog about, your garden or cooking or whatever, and have that be a side project. Just because you have an interest doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a thing that makes you money or that you should chase as a career pursuit. So I think that's a big element of this, is like, really, when you're first starting, sitting down and being like, passions on one hand, expertise in the other, where's that crossover, where's that Venn diagram where those things meet?
Yeah, love it. So what drives you today? What gets you out of bed saying, man, this I get to do this? What fires you up?
That's a good question. A lot of coffee. I drink an unbelievable amount of coffee. No, you know what? I come from a driven family. Like, my whole family is farmers. Like, they're up 3 hours before I get up in the morning. They go to bed 3 hours after I go to bed. They work their fingers to the bone. And I think growing up in that community, you just become relentless in your pursuits. And I think beyond that, I just love building things. I love taking something from, dirt on the ground and bringing something up. And being able to then, start that process all over again. I love that evolution that you go through with, whether it's a product or a service or an experience, what have you. It's just that it's incredibly powerful to build something.
Yeah, love it. What about the vision? What's your vision that you have for your clients?
I want to inspire them to adopt the principles of holistic growth. Because, you could give me, say I win the lottery tomorrow, right? $1 million, right? And I dump it into Facebook ads, right? Just, I'm not even setting the target. I'm just dumping money into it. And maybe that works. Maybe I see a huge spike in growth. But as soon as that money runs out, the growth is over. I mean, maybe people like working with me, so they recommend me, but the line there is, it's just going to go downhill. And I don't think that's a effective marketing strategy. I think what you should be doing is everything you do in marketing should be treated as an investment with a clear ROI, and that it's not, and a lot of people don't think of it that way. They think of it as an expenditure. I have to spend this money on marketing. It's not an expense, it's an investment. And so that's the vision for my clients is, let's get you out of that, dog chasing its tail mode, and get you into a place where you're creating content, evergreen content especially, that is going to just pay dividends into the future. As you continue to answer your customers' questions, as you continue to prove your value beyond the sale, as you continue to provide an exceptional experience beyond your competitors, that's going to trigger growth. That's what will grow a business.
Yeah, I love it. Now, what about the purpose of your company now? Because that's something I've been really thinking about as well, too. Because since I've been doing this show, I've probably talked about maybe about 100, maybe 20, maybe 115, between 115 and 120. Some of them are right. But something I've realized is that a lot of the successful individuals I've really been talking to, they've all come from a point of purpose, which is I could tell that, man, they're not really doing this, whether it's for the money or these different things anymore. They just now come from, hey, here's my purpose for my business. So how would you define the purpose for your business?
I would say simply the purpose is to grow businesses and help other people achieve their own goals. And to, at some level, I never like to position myself as some, big change agent or something like that, because I believe change agents don't do that, right? A change agent is a change agent because their normal behavior in the marketplace inspires change. No one wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm a change agent today, and walks out the door and just changes. That's not how it works. You get labeled that because of the actions you take. So because I do have a value system in place for the way I approach marketing challenges, because I do have a methodology that's based not on cheap marketing tricks or gimmicks or anything like that, but true value-driven growth. The purpose is just to get people on board with that message, is to teach them there's a better way out there, right? It's not the easiest way. It's not the quickest way. But at the end of the day, it's an evergreen way. It's a way that's going to continue growing well after I'm gone. I think the greatest legacy I could leave would be a business that I have helped, build that foundation of, that then goes on to outlive me. I think that would be my ideal of that's a legacy to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. So what about insights, right? So I know a lot of the individuals listen to our show here, maybe the coaches, consultants, service providers at different stages. And one of the things I like to find is as you go through, because I realize just like with myself, right, as I go through, I'm always getting these big breakthroughs every other day, every couple of days. I'm like, man, that's a really good idea. I wish I hadn't known that maybe a few years ago or something, right? So over the past, maybe say week or so, or maybe a couple of weeks, have you got any of these big insights that you could maybe share?
Like recently, or are you just talking in general?
Yeah, recently.
Well, so actually this morning, one of my dear friends is the head of digital marketing for the colleges of New York, and he is a phenomenal digital marketer. His kind of weapon of choice is Facebook, and there is no one I would trust with my money more than him when it comes to advertising. Mm-hmm. And he was talking to me this morning, because this is not, Facebook advertising is something that I talk about with my clients, and I talk about, what kind of content to put out there. But in terms of optimizing spend, optimizing placement, that's a little outside of the bounds of what we do. And so I was just having this conversation with him about a campaign we're running together. And he was talking to me about how targeting is one of these things that people tend to misunderstand when they're setting up a Facebook campaign. And I'm sorry if this goes a little deep into Facebook land, but the idea is that a lot of people, when they set up an ad, they go through the targeting list. You know, let's assume you're not doing like a lookalike or a retargeting campaign. You're going through that targeting list, and it's like a shotgun blast, right? You just grab everything, anything, small business owner, CEO, like whatever those keywords, and you stack it with like 100 different keywords, right? And then you launch your campaign. Maybe it does good, maybe it does poorly. The problem is now that you've jumbled all of that targeting data together, it's going to be near impossible to figure out which one of those are actually effective moving forward. And I never thought of it like that. And a lot of that's because, one of the things I preach is like, a retargeted audience is going to always be your best audience. It's going to be cheapest. They're going to be the highest engaged. They're going to be the most likely to convert. But there is a reason why you would go out there and try to create a new audience there. And I just hadn't thought of that element of, oh yeah, if you're stacking these ads, if you're stacking these demographics and you run a campaign, you have no way of separating out which of those really hit for you or really missed for you. And so he walked me through how he sets up his campaigns. And I was just like, this is why, this is why I come to you for this stuff, because I would have not thought of it in this way and the way he laid it out. So I think that's been the most recent. That literally happened this morning as I was eating breakfast. I was on a call with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to send him this to give him a plug. But he's so that's, I think, the most recent. The other thing, and this is especially for your audience that is going to be coaches, consultants, probably using webinars like you use as part of their funnel. I want to pick my words carefully. Webinars can be boring. They can be really boring. And it's because we're all working off of a very similar formula from each other, right? No matter what platform you use, there's a set of features that they've all developed in some way, or Q&A, polling, that kind of thing. The problem is we're not thinking about webinars dynamically. We're just trying to check the boxes like, okay, I need 35 minutes of content, and then I'm going to go into the stack, and then I'm going to go into Q&A, and here's my 6 seed questions. And I can tell you've probably had this thought as you're putting together a presentation. And the problem is that when all webinars look like that, there's no differentiation, and you start losing engagement. And yes, that top 10% of engagers, those people are probably going to convert because webinars are incredibly powerful. But why settle for the top 10% when you could get the top 20 or 30% if you start thinking of unique ways to engage them? So like, just off the top of my head, why not play a game with them, right? Instead of doing a Q&A, which is everybody does, why not play Jeopardy? Pick 3 random audience members, bring them on mic, and play a game of Jeopardy with them. Or Pictionary. And as they're going through and as everybody's having fun, you can still be delivering your message. You can still be pushing out calls to action. There's nothing stopping you from achieving your goal. It's just more fun. And I think that's one of those things that we need to bring back into webinars. Webinars are an incredible tool, but if we want them to succeed long-term, we need to start thinking more dynamically about the way we make them.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. That's so true as well. Because when you really think about I believe a lot of online marketing, a lot of things of what people are doing online is not anything, it's just they've just copied from somebody else, right? They saw this person do this, or they heard this person say this one thing, and now they're just like copying a whole bunch of stuff being just copied around.
Yeah.
But I find that if you could bring, whether it's your own personality, bring something in it to where it's like it's fun. It's not. It doesn't feel like it's one of those stock things you just picked on at like maybe a stock photo site or something. But something that like makes it fun. Just like one of the things we do in our group coaching program is we actually have it to where the members, they could actually like network with each other, which is get to know each other, get to know their lives and all these different things. Just like we have a client, she has a birthday coming up. She's in Hong Kong, and she's inviting us to a birthday party with friends and family through Zoom.
Yeah.
But just doing like fun things to really just not just try to just sell or whatever, but more based on come from a place of how do you build a relationship with someone? How do you make it to where you feel like, okay, I really know this person, not as someone who's trying to sell me something, but I genuinely know this person as someone who really cares about me and stuff. So I think that's so powerful. Yeah.
No one's going to buy a thing from you unless they know you, like you, trust you.
Exactly.
It's, that's been true for 200 years, if not longer. So, I mean, right now we're with everything going on, right? With COVID and all of this, more people have been flooding into webinars. The webinars I host, and I host a lot of them,
Mhm.
exploded when this happened because people are now kind of in this weird place where they have more time on their hands. People aren't buying as much. They have time to invest in training. And so we're in the middle of this webinar renaissance, and it is up to anyone out there who's using this tool to really start thinking how they're going to differentiate themselves and how they're not going to just give another 35 slide presentation followed by a Q&A and a weak call to action at the end. Like, we got to step up our game as marketers and really get out there with something special.
Yeah, love it, love it. So in essence, so I guess to sum it up, so what else? What do you have for our audience? Like, how can we find out the next step in terms of what you're offering or stuff like that?
Well, I actually have a webinar coming up. It's essentially a lot of what I've talked about today is those three elements that I focus on with the client. It's building your brand story, employing content marketing to help tell that story and showcase your expertise, and using customer experience to reinforce that trust and expertise that you're building in that audience. So I'm hosting a webinar on June 16th. So I can give you that information to share with the audience, and I'd love to have people join. It's free. Like I said, I'm a value first marketer, so it's not an hour-long sales pitch. It is 60 minutes of pure content, and I'm actually going to be doing a live strategy session. And this is not the strategy session a lot of people do, where it's literally a sales pitch. This is actually me sitting down with a company that is in a perfect spot to start employing these strategies. And so I'm going to walk them through exactly what I cover in that first hour, how they're going to apply it to their business, and so that everyone on the call can benefit from, thinking about, how you can take the philosophy that I'm putting out and applying it to their own businesses.
Love it, love it. Now, who would you say would be the best fit for that webinar?
So if you're an established business, right, you could join. If you're just getting started, that's fine. But really the people that are going to benefit most are established businesses. You have your audience, you have your product, you have your brand. What you're looking to do now is grow, right? You're maybe revenue positive, maybe not, maybe you're just breaking even. But you're looking to take that next step to really grow your business and to expand your reach. This could mean that you've been selling the same product for 20 years and now you're looking into expanding into a new market, or it could mean that you've kind of got your system in place, you've got your product flow in place, but now you want to start bringing it to a wider audience. So if you fall into that kind of category, I'd love to have you join. I think you'll find it really valuable.
Awesome, awesome, Drew. Well, hey, man, love it. Thank you so much for making the time to be here today. I really, really appreciate it. Do you have any final thoughts before we end?
Join Toastmasters, man. Get really good at public speaking. It really does help, especially in something like this. Like, the more you do it, just like anything, we were talking about practice earlier. The more you practice it, the better you get. And talking to people, communicating to people, especially face to face, that translates down the chain. So if you can do it well face to face, it's going to help you do it through digital marketing. It's going to help you do it through copy. It's going to help you all the way down the chain. So, start there with a foundational element of really getting good at speaking with people.
Love it, love it. Well, hey, man, thanks again, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, have a good one, Extus. Thanks for